So today I'm going to show you how to set up a Windows 10 or really whatever Windows version you want to use as a virtual machine. So virtual machines are great because it's basically like a mini computer on your computer, and it's contained inside the software. So it's essentially like sandboxed in. So it can't interact with your actual computer unless you configure it to do so. So it's a really nice environment to install, like an operating system like Windows and just like mess around and do different things and use it as like a lab, as a learning experience. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm using Oracle VirtualBox. If you don't have Oracle VirtualBox, you can just go into Google or whatever and just type in VirtualBox and you will see the official website, virtualbox.org. Just click on that and you want to go over to downloads. And depending on what your system is, so you have Windows, you have Mac, you have Linux, that's going to depend on which version you install. So you're just going to, click on Windows, whatever. I already have it, so I'm not going to download it. And it should just automatically download the best one for your system there. So yeah, once you have VirtualBox, you're going to just run it and install it, and then you're going to have this basically. You're not going to have any of these because these are already some VMs that I installed, so just ignore those for now. And next, we're going to install Windows. So if you have a Windows ISO already, then great, you can skip this step. But if you don't, what you're going to do is you're just going to go over to Google. You're going to type in Windows, let's just say Windows 10 evaluation. You'll see Microsoft website here. It's going to say something like, Windows 10 Enterprise. That's fine. So you're going to see this whole page here, and we're just going to see download the ISO. Okay, that's what we want. And it's going to show this little form here. So you're just going to fill in these details, and this is just going to give you like a 90-day free trial to use. And so you just fill in this stuff here and you download it, and then you're going to get an ISO file, and that's what we're going to use in VirtualBox. So from that point, you can go into your downloads folder or wherever you decided to save it. I have a little folder here. So as you can see, I downloaded the Windows 10 Enterprise. I renamed it because it had like the really long, kind of just arbitrary name, and it was really hard to read. So I just decided name it, something simple like this. So after you know where your download file is, it's probably in your downloads folder. Just going to go into Oracle VirtualBox. I'm going to click New, and I'm just going to name this. You can name it whatever you want. It doesn't matter what you name it. Client 2, just because I'm going to keep it in line with what I already have. I'm going to type Microsoft Windows version. I'm just going to go down to other Windows 64-bit. Click Next. Now the memory size is really dependent on what your computer is capable of. So I have about 16 gigabytes of RAM in my computer. So I'm going to go ahead and increase this to like I don't know, somewhere around 2 or whatever. That's plenty right there. Yeah, if you don't know how much you have, just go with 2, I'd say. If you know you have a lot, then just increase it. But it doesn't. It's just going to speed things up the more you have. So next, we have the virtual disk. So we're going to just create that. Next. And this is how much space you're going to allocate to the virtual machine. I don't really need that much space, but there is a minimum amount of space you need. For Windows, I think it's probably about somewhere around 8 gigs. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it about 10. Hopefully that's enough. You can always change it later. And then so your new virtual machine is going to be popping up somewhere over here. But there's a few other options that you can configure to make your life easier in the future. So we're going to click on Settings with your new virtual machine selected. And you're going to see in the General tab, you're going to see like Advanced, We're going to go into that. We're going to say shared clipboard. We're going to change that to bidirectional and drag and drop to bidirectional. What this is going to do is it's going to let you drag files from your regular computer into your virtual machine, and it's going to let you, copy and paste things. So if you're in here somewhere, you have like a link you need to paste, you can copy it here, go into your virtual machine and paste it in. So that's just really helpful. And next we're going to go into system. So this is the memory we configured earlier. We're going to go into processor. Again, this depends on how much your computer has. I'm just going to give this at least 2 cores of CPU here. And we're going to go into display. I'm going to increase the video memory. It's going to speed things up. That's pretty much it. There's really nothing else. Oh, actually, the network part. This part is pretty important, actually. So what you want to do on this part, it depends on your use case. But if you're just installing this to mess around with and you're not doing any specific networking stuff, you just want to keep it as NAT. Basically, that's going to allow VirtualBox to give it a virtual adapter, and it's going to connect to the internet through your computer's networking stuff here, and you won't need to configure anything, so it'll be ready to go. So I would leave it as this right here if you are just using it for regular uses. I am actually going to change it into an internal network because of my setup here. I have a domain controller running, so I'm just going to have it connect to that domain controller through an internal card, but you just want to leave it as NAT here. So I'm just going to set that up there, blah, blah, blah. Double click it. And now it should ask you, it's going to say, what do you want to install, basically. So you're going to go into where you have your ISO file. It's already open for me here, so I'm just going to select this here, Enterprise. And you're going to click Start. And yeah, so this is basically running a virtual computer here, and it's going to take your file and it's going to basically simulate as if you had a disk in your computer, or a USB drive, and you're installing Windows. So this is a virtual computer that is taking that file and installing Windows. So you're going to see this menu, most likely, and just next, whatever language you speak, basically, and install. So this part actually takes a while. So I'm going to cut this part out, but this is basically it. I mean, it's really simple. All you do is you just have your virtual machine software, and you essentially just set it up and then choose your file, and then boom, it starts downloading Windows, installing Windows. I mean, now on this part, you most likely just want to go with the upgrade setting here. This is just going to do like the basic settings. I'm going to go with custom though. And you can see this is the actual hard drive. Oh, so this is a problem. So this actually, see, I only allocated 10 gigabytes of storage. And as you can see, we have this little error thing. It's saying basically like your hard drive sucks, like you don't have enough space. And that's okay. So we're just going to close that out. And these things happen. So this is what you want to do. So you want to go into your device here, and we're going to go down into storage, and you can see this is the little storage thing that we have here. And what we're going to do actually is we're going to go into attributes. We're going to click on this little hard disk. We're going to choose create a new virtual hard disk. So we have our client to VDI. So we're going to go ahead and add that. So as you can see, this is the one we had, basically. Whoops, actually we're going to create, my bad. So same thing as we did earlier when we were setting it up, except this time I'm just going to leave it as, I know 15 works for sure, so I'm just going to leave it at 15. Should have done that earlier, but that's what happens. And so now we should click refresh, and we should see we have this new one in. So we're going to just choose that. and that's going to load in our new virtual hard disk. So, okay, and now we're going to start it up again, and this time it should work. So that's the thing with Windows, is it has like a minimum amount that you have to use in order to actually install Windows. So I can't remember the exact amount. It's probably like 12 or 15 gigabytes, but that's all you do there. And VirtualBox has this nice little setup here at the top. You can choose different options here for input. So when you're using a virtual machine, if you want to do Control-Alt-Delete, for example, you can't just press it on your computer's keyboard, because it's going to actually do it on your computer and not in the virtual machine. So you just want to go into Input, Keyboard, and then boom, Control-Delete. And you can set up, so now it's actually working, but you can actually set up different keys if you want to just have like a little shortcut, so you don't have to go up here and do this every time. And that's it. You just let Windows install. It's simple as that. And then when you're done, you're just going to set up your username, all that stuff, and good to go. Okay, so after the installation takes place, you're gonna just go into settings and just do the basic stuff. Choose your region, choose your keyboard layout. No, do not want a second keyboard. So it's going to ask, now if you choose NAT instead of the internal network like I did, you're probably not going to get this screen here. You're probably just going to create your username and just sign in like normal. But since I am actually using a domain controller, I'm going to go ahead and sign in with a domain. So he's going to use this PC, my name there, super secure password, password 1. It's going to ask you some random security questions. Don't really care about these. So now, if you're just using this VM for a lab, I would recommend turning all this stuff off here. This is just going to send data to Microsoft. So I would just turn all this stuff off here, because you don't really need it anyways. No, don't want that. So that's pretty much it. And yeah, just set up your account and you're pretty much ready to go. And again, when you sign in, you're just going to go into Input, Keyboard, Control-Delete, and at the sign in screen, that's going to let you sign in. So that's it. That's how you install Windows 10 as a virtual machine. Now, since I'm using a domain controller, I'm going to go ahead and just show how to do that, but this step is completely optional. So yeah, you don't need to do this unless you are connecting to a domain of some kind. So Windows is pretty slow. I mean, the more RAM you use, the faster the setup process is going to be. But you still have some icons that are not loading. This is always nice. So go into System now, and we're going to go down into Advanced, rename this PC. Then we're going to go to change your computer's name. So it has a weird name, so we're just going to change it to Client 2. I'm going to say member of domain. awesomedomain.com. That is my domain. Click OK, and it's going to ask you for a username and password. Now I have bunch of different users configured. So I'm just gonna do one of the users, and then just, yeah, should be good to go. It's gonna say, welcome to this domain, sweet. So that's it. That's it. That is how you install Windows 10 Virtual Machine and connect to a domain if you wanted to do that. So that is it.